You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Walking Dead After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Walking Dead After Show.
Not too many prisoners turning into walkers this tonight. Kind of surprising. What a crazy finale. Lots of twists, especially for comic readers. But guys, tonight, we're doing The Walking Dead After Show. Joining me over on the far left, Kristin,
Just call me Governor tonight, Dave.
Governor Kristin Carole. And sitting next to the Governor is Tyreese.
What's up, everybody?
Also known as Derrial Christon. And sitting next to me, we've got back from the dead, Merle. And you can see if you're watching his awesome arm.
Yeah, so there we go.
Also known as Nando Velasquez.
Yes.
And guys, I'm Dave Klein, a.k.a. Daryl, because he's a BA. And that's how it is. And plus, I just want to wear my poncho again. That's really what it really was.
Dave.
And he rocked the poncho tonight,
He
too.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knew.
Yeah,
He
Daryl
knew.
actually had the poncho again. He was packing it up. And he was wearing it for a little bit. So that's why I did it. And in the booth, Stephen Lemieux.
How's it going, guys? Welcome.
Dressed as...
Milton.
Dressed as
Milton
Stephen
before he
Lemieux.
dies. Milton before he dies.
Oh, spoiler alert right there.
Dressed as Stephen Lemieux. So Walking Dead Army loves your outfit, Kristin, by the way.
Thank you.
And Sarah Parsons thinks the duct tape is an epic costume tool.
Duct tape, we love it.
So let's go and jump right into the episode because it started out really intense. This was the second time we've seen a Walking Dead episode start with an eyeball close-up zoom out. The last time was a walker. This time we were seeing it with the Governor. At least the second time we've seen it this season. So actually, I think it was the first episode of the season.
I believe it was, too.
So they
before.
started it out the first episode, and now we see it, the final episode kind of show us how crazy the Governor's gone. And we're getting the point of view from Milton as he is having the crap beaten out of him.
Yeah.
If only he was a better fighter.
If only he was.
So the Governor beats him up, and the Milton starts talking to him and says, "What would your daughter think about what you are?" And the Governor responds that she'd be afraid of me, but she'd be alive.
Yeah.
So he thinks that what he's become has been for the best. And they end up busting into Andrea's room where because Milton asks if Andrea's dead. She's not dead, but they have a scuffle, and basically the Governor wants Milton to return all the equipment. He's not going to be torturing Andrea anymore because it looks like she's already been tortured a bit.
Yeah, she's not looking too great.
Not too great. And Milton decides to leave some pliers there.
Yeah, nice little sneaky move.
And it's given a decision.
Yeah.
So the Governor wants him to take out Andrea, and hands Milton the knife, and Milton instead swings around and backstabs the Governor. Did you guys expect that to happen?
Not at all.
I think I screamed it out. I was just like, turn around and just get him. But, you know, he's so tall and big, and just Milton's not nearly the same size as him, so it doesn't quite.
Considering how protective he was of the Governor a couple of episodes ago, I was a little surprised by that move.
I think when it came down to it, he knew he couldn't have killed Andrea. He could have, almost killed himself and be like, oh, what are you going to do? But I think he figured if he had the opportunity, out of the three of them, the Governor should die the most. And the Governor said, you kill or you die. So he was probably just picking a different victim instead.
And didn't the Governor make some comment like, I knew you were going to do that? Or something? Did he say something like that after Milton tried to stab him?
I believe so.
Yeah, he says.
I believe he was ready for it. Well, I think he just knew that he didn't have the guts to kill Andrea, so he was going to try something else.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was a fitting end to a character that's as intelligent as Milton. I mean, because he had the tools. He could have done something, because if honestly, if he's going to have to kill Andrea or the governor's going to kill him, I mean, why not just go up to Andrea and start letting her out of the chair, and then the governor comes after him? I mean,
I don't think there was enough time.
Yeah.
And do we know that the governor had a gun or not, too?
But you know what? It was such a good twist because I don't think anyone really expected the governor to be like, "You're going to kill Andrea one way or the other." So I think Milton thought he was being defiant, but then he realized that was part of the governor's plan. He had it figured out that Milton was going to kill Andrea whether he was alive or whether he was dead. So.
Yeah, so it was definitely, like, it was cool that the governor had set that up. Like, just close the door and you're going to become a walker, and it's going to happen anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't like you, Steven. I wasn't too upset with Milton still being there as smart as he was. I would have liked to see more fight out of him in the end because he didn't fight back at all when the governor was beating the crap out of him. And then when he was picking up the tools, I was expecting him to just grab a tool or do something then, as opposed to walking away before he's given that option, more or less.
I mean, you saw how woozy Milton was when he was trying to even pick up those. I think he left those pliers as an afterthought, but he was incredibly woozy and could barely stand up on his own. So I don't know how much fight this guy has, and he was not a fighter. He was, if anything, he was there. He was there under the protection of the governor and Woodbury. Yeah. So that was his shield in a way, and that's why he had to. That's why he said he was fine as long as he turned and he looked the other way, and he didn't do anything about it.
Well, and who knows how long the governor had been kicking him in that corner, beating him up, too. It could have been hours. We don't know. So it just, a guy who's not that strong anyways, who's getting beaten for an unknown amount of time, isn't going to be able to have that much fight in him.
Yeah, and I love that scene anyway because I don't know if anyone else thought this about the beginning. I thought it was him hitting Andrea, and I think that's how they set it up because the way they ended the last show last week, with her in the chair.
It was a great setup.
It was a great setup.
I think since we had those subtitles going on, we had subtitles and it just said Milton underneath it. I was like, oh, okay, it's Milton right away. But I guess I figured immediately, I think it did initially right off the bat think it was Andrea, but then I pretty quickly figured it was whoever let the walkers out, which was then revealed to be, I was wrong, it was Milton.
Yeah, it was
no special surprise.
I thought he was a terrible liar, so I didn't think when he was so adamantly said he didn't do it that I actually believed it.
Yeah, I did too.
So there you go. It happens.
But so after Milton is left there, bleeding, about to become a walker, and there's pliers left for Andrea, we have the governor goes outside, is rallying up Woodbury, and Tyreese and Sasha want out. They don't want any part in the actual killing because, as they say, it's not their fight. And the governor kind of just surprisingly just hands them a sniper rifle and lets them do their thing.
I think that was a really great move on Tyreese and Sasha's part to do it in front of everybody, too, because Sasha was obviously trembling with the governor when he walked up to them. But at that point, he hadn't gone completely over the edge, so he still wanted to keep his cool around the army that's with him. And it actually is smart in case, the prison group does go there. It does look like he wants to protect the women and children, and you have two people who can do that. Although who was it that commented that why are they giving Tyreese the gun because he's not a great
that was
shot?
me. I said that. Yeah. If only he saw in the other episode trying to shoot walkers.
He should have given it to Sasha instead.
I think so. Hey, don't talk about me.
Sorry, Tyreese.
Kidding.
Yeah, it was pretty funny because, like you said, last episode, not too good of a shot.
I like
but
how
apparently he was this episode.
Yeah, I like how the character with one eye is telling Tyreese he's not a good shot. So,
You have some impeccable aim considering you have no depth perception.
Exactly.
I had to throw a piece of candy earlier to my roommate over there who's sitting in. I don't think that worked very well. I gotta practice.
So over on Team Woodbury or Team Prison, we have Carl looking at his family portrait, and everyone's packing up it looks like to leave. They're all getting ready to leave, and Carl is pissed off. He's not happy about whatever decision's been made, which hasn't been revealed yet. I thought that they were going to leave, but it turns out that they were staying. But it looks like they were just getting ready to leave at this moment in time. And Rick looks up and still sees Lori watching him and watching everything that he's doing. So we kind of have just the entire prison getting ready for everything that's happening. Michonne forgives Rick, which was pretty awesome of her considering that she was halfway there.
Yeah. It was a great dialogue with him too. So I mean, she admitted that he had to think about it, and she totally understood that. Especially
how they did the preview last week where they did that small clip where he was saying, "You're one of us now," and then they paused on her looking a little PO'd, and I'm glad that that's not how it ended up being, and it was a really great moment between the two of them.
Yeah, we're finally, once again, starting to see a lot more of who Michonne is as a person, versus like all of her hard exterior is starting to fall down a little bit. So.
But most importantly, it solidified the relationship, and now there's no doubt. Any waffling or any conflict that was happening in the past couple of episodes, she's locked in. So she's part of the group.
She is accepted finally.
Yes, finally.
And as Rick says, it was actually Carl who made the call that she is one of them now. So Michonne is fine with everything, and I guess Carl just wants to be a man at this point. He wants to be part of the group, and I guess that's why he was pissed off. I thought he was pissed off because they're all leaving and he wanted to defend. But he wanted to be there helping shoot down people. Well,
again, a good swerve on us, because I think it made it look like they were all leaving, but really they just sent him to get away from the battle and to stay in the woods with Herschel. Yeah.
I guess the idea would be that he has all of his possessions with him in case they do die. That at least Herschel can drive away with him and they can survive.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the point. And it's good, I think, to have Carl with them, because he is younger, but he's a good shot. You know, he could take care of Beth and Herschel as well, because they're not nearly as well equipped, you know, to do that kind of stuff. So I think that was also a smart thing, and he's got to realize that wasn't just let's put the little kid in the corner. I think that was taking the best option to protect him while also giving him a responsibility.
Yeah, but Carl doesn't see it that way.
I was mad at Carl this episode. I usually like him. He was a total brat.
He's kind of bratty this episode.
He's becoming a teenager. You know how they are.
Yeah, exactly.
So, right after we have these two groups kind of prepping, we have the Woodbury group. They're coming to the prison. They have a grenade launcher shooting and blasting at the turrets. And good thing it wasn't the turret that Maggie and Glenn was on. But blasting at turrets, they have a chain gun mowing down all the walkers there in the front yard, and they bust in, and none of the prisoners are there. And at this point, we really had thought that they'd all left, as it kind of set us up to believe. But kind of a lot of really cool moments with the way that the prisoners set everything up to trick them, where they go in, there's nobody there, and the first thing that they find is a Bible. And I highlighted, or I wrote down the part which was something about turning evil when damnation comes. I'm trying to remember the quote, but...
Well, those who follow the path of evil are damned. That's pretty much what I wrote down. I didn't write the whole quote, but that's what I got out of it.
It was a long quote to write down while we were watching it live.
Yeah.
But at this point, it still seems like they left. And then all of a sudden, a flash bomb goes off and sets off all the alarms, and walkers start coming, all the walkers that are left in the prison. So wasn't totally cleaned out. They start coming out at the group, and as Woodbury group starts fleeing out, we have the ambush from the prison group. So definitely a good cross tactic there.
Yeah, and great to sound the alarms, kind of like how it was Andrew, I believe, was the one that did that to them earlier with the zombies. So that brings them all in there, and that was a great tactic, I thought.
And such a difference from the beginning of the battle when they came in with such heavy artillery. Like I got scared for everybody. You know, I'm like, thank God they're not in the prison. And then to see them all running out like cowards, I hate to say it, but they freaked out over a flash bomb and well, and a bunch of walkers, obviously, but still, it was such an amazing 180 that happened there.
Well, thank you, Morgan, for the flash bombs, right? I believe that's some of the stuff that they took.
And thank you, Andrew, probably for the idea too, because Andrew was the one who originally set up the whole alarms and everything that back a while back.
And we see the change of how they've become fighters from last season, even everyone there. So it's definitely an advancement for all of them.
But I also think, drawing upon the earlier point, is that while it was a total 180. And they shifted so much, it's because really those Woodbury people aren't fighters like the prison group is. They really had just been living in Woodbury peacefully. I mean, they've been preparing for this war, but none of them have really seen that much action in a long time. And we don't know how much they even saw before they were in Woodbury. So they really weren't prepared. They're very ill-prepared. They had the guns, they had the weapons, but as far as being soldiers they weren't trained soldiers.
But do you think that they actually should have just stayed there, or do you think that they should have left? Period.
I mean, I don't think they should have run away from the walkers. They should have stayed there. But I mean, at that point, once they're getting shot at and they had no options, I mean, I guess they went to go regroup and change tactics, because you sort of have to. Their chain gun's not working all of a sudden. they're out of grenades from their grenade launcher.
Yeah, I guess that
or something like that. I don't know why they weren't shooting their grenade launcher more.
Something got sabotaged, or they ran out of ammo from shooting earlier with all the walkers.
But I think it's worth saying that we were all screaming when when Maggie and Glenn took off their helmets, and we're like, no, what are you doing? Oh, I totally thought one of them was gonna get nailed. I thought Glenn was gonna get nailed because he was the first one to take it off.
Yeah, it was very reminiscent of. Why am I drawing a blank?
Lou?
Lou.
Yeah.
So it just reminded me of that moment. I was like, are we going to have a deja vu moment right now?
Well, it's just like their sex scene. It's like every time we see Glenn and Maggie, we're like, what's going to happen? Oh, there's got to be a zombie in that room.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess, like, for some reason, we're always expecting it with those two.
That's an awesome swerve, though. I guess we are. I know a lot of people were predicting one or two of them were gonna die this episode because of the whole proposal last week. So that was great.
Well, just it would be a big enough death, but I think the show could go on without either one of them.
Ouch.
It would be sad. I love their character.
The show cannot go on without Maggie.
But you know what I mean? You can't kill off Rick. You can't cut off Carl. You can't cut off Daryl. But if you want a huge death, you could kill off anybody else. I think that's I don't want them to die. I'm not saying that. This isn't like Governor Christon taking over at this exact second. But
I think Maggie has her fans. I think if Maggie died, not as much as Daryl, but I think there'd be
Dave
a lot of guys. Dave would cry. I think there'd be a lot of other guys crying.
I'd be crying dragon tears, which, as we all know, turn into jelly beans. That's a very off reference, but I hope some people get it.
Yeah, we got it.
So Sarah Parsons on the chat says, I love how they incorporated a lot of religious references thanks to Herschel, which I guess we have been getting that throughout the show, but specifically it was that Bible verse. I don't know. Were there any other ones in this episode you guys noted?
Nothing I can remember. I don't think so.
And then Liz on the chat says the governor shouldn't have expected his group to be strong, and I guess he expected power in numbers and power in weapons, because you kind of expect if you have the best weapons, you're going to win a war.
Yeah, he came in pretty overconfident.
Yeah, just a little bit overconfident.
Just a tiny bit overconfident.
Well, I mean, we'll get on it at the end of the show, but it's so much different from the comics too.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about it at the very end. But let's go ahead and talk about what happens afterwards with the prison group, because after the governor kind of runs away, we're not sure what's going on with them yet, and they're trying to figure out and decide what they want to do. Should they go after them? Should they stay here and defend? And there's kind of tension between them, and Rick decides that he should go, so it's going to be a group of them going to the prison to fight back immediately and strike right back, and Carl wants to come with, and Rick will not let him come, so Carl, being the brat he is this episode, just storms off and is pissed that he can't be involved. And Herschel tells Rick what Carl did, which I kind of forgot to mention there, which is that Carl, and let's rewind and talk about it, because that's a big moment, which is Carl. So earlier, Carl, as the Woodbury's fleeing, we get one boy that we'd seen earlier fleeing away, and he runs across Carl and Herschel, and Carl immediately pulls out a gun with the biggest muzzle silencer on it ever, and the two of them kind of stand off, and Carl tells the kid to put his gun down, so the kid starts putting his gun down, and Carl kills him anyways. Were you guys expecting him to do that before it happened, just straight up shoot him?
No, I mean, I was expecting that kid to join their side of the team. You know, that's where I was thinking they were going with the character.
The way the suspense was building, I kind of thought maybe that kid would have ended up trying to do something to them. I actually thought Herschel was a goner in that scene. I thought that's what was going to happen. But it was just so sad. That was Carl's first human kill, his first live kill. So.
Especially one where you're not sure if he was trying. He took him forever to put down the gun. If I've got somebody with a big silencer in front of me saying put down your gun, I'm dropping that sucker. You know?
Yeah, you don't try to hand it to him, you put it down. Right?
Yeah, you'd think, but I mean, I can see where Carl would be suspicious, but it seemed like the kid, I mean, you could tell he was holding the gun sideways. He wasn't at all ready to shoot it. He's putting it down. I wasn't expecting Carl to do that, but hey, Carl figures he's got to kill when he's got to kill, as he talks about later.
Well, I was wondering if it was some type of foreshadowing, like, of us to see something of where Carl transitions with his character in the future. You know, as he become this almost like heartless person because of what he's exposed to.
Well, this is the death of an innocent in a way. He was innocent. Notice earlier in the episode where Rick was talking to Michonne, and he said that it was Carl's call that Michonne gets to be part of the group. Yeah. And now compare that to what happens at the end. We can get to that later. I'll bring it up because I got a couple of notes on that. But this is a moment. You saw the look in his eye after he killed that kid. he changed.
Yeah.
He completely
There was no
changed.
remorse
Yeah.
at all. Yeah.
I mean, it was I thought I saw a little bit of remorse for, like, oh my God, I did it, and then like that, it was done. He just shifted.
But look at his thought process. I mean, what is their relationship with most people who are threatening the group that come into the group? I mean, what do? They tie them up, they lock them away, and then they're just a problem until everyone just gets fighting themselves internally until they decide what to do with him. I mean, I think he was just honestly thinking, like, this is going to cause too much trouble. I'm gonna be the man, and I'm gonna take care of this right now.
Well, you know
kind
what?
of taking inspiration from Shane.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that's a Shane moment. That's
Yeah,
a Shane type.
very
of thing.
Shane inspired there, which I think he's drawing a lot from. He's gotten a lot of Shane from who he is. But on the chat, Curly Q's points out, was that the asthma kid that we saw from a few episodes ago? Or she's asking if it was.
That wasn't, but I wish it was, because that would have been even better if it was the asthma kid.
Steven, your prediction could have somewhat come back.
And it didn't.
It could have.
You should have been a writer.
I was half right last week.
So, I do want to talk more about this. Let's go on to the point where Rick goes to talk with Carl about what he did. And Carl points out that all the times they didn't kill someone and someone died as a consequence in their group. So he was kind of thinking ahead, like, well, if I don't kill this person might come back and kill someone from our group. Rick had a chance to kill the governor. He didn't, so the governor's been killing everybody. When Carl had a chance to kill that walker with Dale from the earlier episode, he didn't, so Dale got killed. And then there's another person that he mentions who I'm not remembering right now. But what he's been seeing, what we were talking about, is growing up in this world. Merle. Well, that was the governor one. But, what we're seeing in his world is that any time that from his perspective, you take someone in from season 2, they take in that kid, it causes a lot of problems, a lot of internal fighting, and then people ended up dying in the group. They tried to take in Tyreese. Rick threw him out right away because Rick was having his crazy moments.
Right.
And so that's all he's really seen and known. So, and he's also picking up, Shane was his idol and was his hero, so he's picking up a lot of Shane, which we really are seeing in this episode. It really feels like a little Shane.
Oh, he mentions Andrew with Lori. That was the third one.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Andrew and Lori.
That
Sorry.
you let Andrew go. We didn't know if he was dead, and then Mom dies. So.
Well, here's what I took from it. I thought that was an amazing thought process for Carl. The fact that why people keep people alive when they're just going to kill us, because it's almost exactly what the governor said earlier. You kill or you die, or you die and you kill.
Yeah.
We're used to people being dead and then coming back to life as zombies and killing people. Carl sees it as whether you're dead or alive, you're going to kill somebody. So he doesn't trust anybody right now. He's willing to kill people just because he thinks it's easier to kill somebody to save people in the group. And again, if Michonne came after this realization in his mind, Michonne might have been killed by Carl. So this is a complete change in my eyes.
Right, yeah, it is, because that is a good point with Michonne, where Carl was the one who wanted Michonne to come into their group. So total 180 in that regard. But I guess he views, like, Michonne was an outsider, random person, whereas this guy was the enemy. He points out this was a soldier from the other group. I don't get it. He's an enemy soldier. And that's what he thinks of it as, is that enemy soldier. He's kind of thinking black and white. As opposed to all the shades, you know?
Well, notice how upset he was at the end of the episode when he saw all these people coming. Because, again, in his eyes, anyone who we keep alive that's not part of the group is a risk, could kill somebody. So...
Yeah, but what he needs to realize too is that they're still going to need some other people in that group.
When Carl gets older and he starts wanting there to be other people around and other women.
Yeah, exactly.
When Beth isn't enough.
He'll be happy that there's a group of other people there. A lot of women and children there. So let's go to all the people who are part of Woodbury and kind of what the governor does right afterwards, which is that they're all retreating. Governor turns around, pulls his own 180. Physically, not metaphorically, physically turns a 180, and he pulls over, stops them, and they start fighting over what they should do and what they want to do, and the governor just straight up lays them out, murders all of them. Did you guys see that coming?
No. I mean, this is the thing, though. Like, we saw tonight that the governor, everything he's building is about lies at this point. So, like, he said that he had the lie before to get people to go on his side and run after Rick and his team by rallying up all those people with lies. And then what is he going to go back to his camp and say? You know, how did the other people die? He's going to lie, you know, or he would have to lie. So I just feel like everything he's doing right now is just showing how evil he's really becoming in this character.
Well, I just think he's fed up with people, too, in his mind. He's like, I've been nothing but trying to save you guys, and I ask you to, you know, do one thing, and that's to take out this group, and they can't even do that. And we see his, you know, vision get blurry a little bit, and he gets a little woozy, and the sound goes down, and then he just... And they use the same argument that, I was going to point to you, Tyreese, said earlier, which was, you know, we'll fight the walkers, but this isn't our fight. And I think he just gets so angry at that because he has made the last, you know, year or so into him helping out all these people. And I think in his mind he's feeling like he's being betrayed by everyone because they don't want to help him out in his time of need.
Well, remember earlier in the season when he had Andrea talking to the civilians and calming them down, and he even said, although we knew he was lying, that she could be more or less in charge, but he was really doing his own thing. Those people were a burden to him. He tried to give them guns, and he finally got tired of the weak. And really, that's what it is. I mean, Milton was one of the weakest people in the camp as far as he was concerned, and he finally got rid of him. So as far as he's concerned, he has no... He doesn't give a crap about the weak at this moment. And that's probably why he didn't even go back to Woodbury after that, because he's fed up. He's fed up with the weak.
Well, and like you even said earlier, he was talking about the group, and he's like picnics and barbecues and fights. I mean, they've been lucky so far. And, you know, so you can just see it's just, you know, and finally once they're fighting back at him, he's like, why do I even put up with this anymore?
Right.
Well, it's funny because it seems like that's what he'd been building to. That's what it seems like what the dream was. In the zompocalypse world, it seems like the dream would be to have a place like Woodbury, and he just completely gives it all up because he gets so fed up, and this just throughout the season, this arc has made him shift so much. But we get his prime crew, which would be like Alan, who was fourth and center at the prison raid. Alan Martinez and Fro Dude, whose name we don't know, who I'm going to refer to as Fro Dude.
Who is not me tonight.
Yeah, who's not Tyreese.
Different kind of Fro.
The other Fro guy.
Different kind of Fro.
But we get the three of them. He leaves alive, and Alan's clearly not happy about it. Goes to kill the governor, and the governor shoots him. And Martinez and Fro Dude look really upset too. They're not happy with this shift either. Yeah.
That was amazing. I mean, especially because Alan was so upset at the prison. He was on their side, but just that move freaked him out. I don't know if he was going to kill him or if he was still going to try and keep him at bay. Like, hey, what did you just do? But the governor just didn't care anymore. Again, weakness. That was a sign of weakness. Him hesitating, and the governor was just like, forget it. I don't need you.
Yeah, if you pull a gun on the governor, you better be able to take him out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. I don't think he was planning on shooting the governor. I think it was, you know, one, he saw the governor just shoot a bunch of people, and I think it was just in case he decides to go. Yeah. And I think he was, as you said, way too weak to even realize that maybe he should put his gun down and show that he was okay. I don't think that was necessarily on Alan's part, I'm going to kill you, because he looked way too
I think it was just a natural
out.
Reaction to something like that. I would pull up my gun too.
But interesting, that was another willing soldier, because he wanted to go for the prison, especially after his son died. He even said it during that whole heated discussion that they killed my son. So the governor is even willing to kill somebody who would have stayed by his side even after that.
I cheered though when Alan died. I'm sorry
to
whoever the actor
is. Yeah, you didn't like Alan.
Yeah, I don't think many people did. He was just kind of a jerk the entire time.
Yeah.
But Alan was killed, so Alan, our first major death. I mean, Milton at this point in time had been dying, but he wasn't dead yet, I don't believe. But our first big major death. So let's go ahead and jump over to Milton, to Andrea, who are locked up. They're locked away, and Milton is dying and wants Andrea to just get away and stab him in the head. And Andrea, why can't you multitask? Why can't you multitask?
She's frustrating.
I believe Jen Marie on the chat was screaming at the TV saying, why can't you multitask, Andrea? And why do you have to be such a woman? And that's from Jen, who is a woman. But, so don't hate me for saying that. But, yeah, it's just like, they kept on cutting to it to make it really suspenseful, but it was just like, come on, Andrea, why are you being so dumb right now? She's been fighting so much throughout these episodes. We've seen her like chained up with like walkers coming at her where she kicks them away, like doing all sorts of things to walkers in crazy predicaments, and she just can't for some reason get herself to bust herself out.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one who was just like, come on, really? Like it's a form of writing that just kind of forces suspense, where it's not even a suspense that you're like worried what's going to happen next. It's a suspense where you're just kind of, it's aggravating you. You're like, are you serious? Like, come on, you have toes. You don't need 2 feet to pick up something on the ground. Like, we've all done that in school with our pencils. Come on.
2 very pretty feet.
Yes, she still gets a pedicure, apparently.
Yeah, apparently she still has pedicures. Apparently they still have foot nail polish in Woodbury. That's one of the big perks of living there. But as Rachel Steiner says, Andrea was a total blonde this episode.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be the way to put it. Wait a second. That's me.
No, it was disappointing as somebody who I know a lot of us have kind of changed our tune with her and been cheering for her this season, and to go out the way that she did, where you are yelling at her like, get your act together, you can get those, and stop talking to Milton, stop making sure he's alive. We have a little
I
difficulty
unplugged my
going on.
headphones. That's all I was trying to say.
Okay, good. So yeah, that was Nando unplugged his headphones for some reason.
I thought you were doing your best like Milton death impersonation.
No,
That's
no,
all
I'm just
it
telling. I'm just telling Steven. I'm not going to hear any sound effects, so feel free to just keep going.
Really cute.
Noted, Nando. We're
Okay.
still recording though, so you can still hear you on the recording.
Okay, that's cool.
So Curly Q also notes that all women noticed that too, the nice feet for Andrea. So that's funny. I feel like everybody noticed. For some reason, that was like noticeable because you're not expecting it. It's one of those things that just feels kind of off.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
it's a close-up of her feet too.
She was
There's
just as an
nothing else in that scene.
probably like, as an actress, she's just like, I just don't want people to think I have gross feet. I bet that's what it was. That's probably all it was she as an actress didn't want people to think she had gross feet. But while she's struggling, we have Tyreese, and Tyreese has stayed in the back, and he comes up to talk to Sasha, and they're kind of protecting all the women and children. And Sasha is, or I think elderly and children, but Sasha, he tells Sasha that he actually killed a bunch of walkers with the rifle. Whoa, what? When did that happen?
Right.
How'd you become a good shot? Please tell us.
You know,
Tyreese
I've been
there.
practicing. Yeah. No, that was just.
It's from that one session.
It's from
right?
that one session, exactly.
Well, we don't know how many shots he took.
Oh, that's true.
That's
Sorry.
true. No, that's true.
Maybe they got
You're right.
really close first.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll only shoot off the close ones.
Yeah.
He got his hammer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I wish he had his hammer. That's from the comics, guys. But the hammer's Tyreese is a killer with a hammer. So he decides he wants to figure out where Andrea is, and he notices something's wrong. I mean, he doesn't specifically say what he's looking for, but it's pretty much implied that he's going to look for Andrea and figure out where she is and what's up. But he ends up back at the wall, and when he's at the wall, he's with Sasha, and then we have a big moment there. But before we get into the big moments and more on Rick's group coming to Woodbury now, I do want to mention, guys, that since we do provide the show, we'd love your feedback in any way possible, whether that be going to YouTube, go to iTunes, please rate, please comment, positive or negative. It doesn't matter. We just want to know how we can make this show better for you guys. Or you can go to our live chat at AFTERBUZZTV.com. Tonight we're a little early, 8 p.m. Pacific time. Usually we've been 9. But I guess that'll happen season 4 when it comes back, which we'll mention on later and touch on. But we always do try to chat with you guys if you join in on the live chat, as you probably noticed. And that was a lot of talking. So let's talk about the fact that we had a survivor from the whole massacre. We had one major survivor, and I'm trying to pull out her name, Karen. So Karen.
Real quick, what were you saying? You were saying you think Tyreese was going to look for Andrea?
That's what I'd initially thought, because they were talking about Andrea when he was talking to Sasha.
Oh, okay. Because I thought he was just looking for a way that they could sneak out of there, like if things went south. Because he thinks Andrea's at the prison.
That might have been the
true,
case. Yeah. I guess they didn't really imply specifically what they were doing.
Okay. I thought I missed something. Sorry.
No.
It still sounded like he was going to do something that wasn't going to be patrolling the perimeter. So I kind of thought, the same thing.
And what a good they would have to escape there somehow, because they could obviously tell the governor wasn't happy with them.
His foreboding.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Karen gets lucky. The governor runs out of bullets as he is shooting everybody in the head, and the prison group runs across the massacre, and they find Karen, who then they take her with her, and they go up to the wall where Tyreese is guarding, and Karen waves down Tyreese and gets him to stop and explains to Tyreese what's happened. So now Tyreese is on their side, Tyreese and Sasha, and they all go running for Andrea as Tyreese finds out, because no one really knew what the governor was doing.
Right.
Andrea never made it to Woodbury, to the prison, which Rick didn't know. So the pieces all kind of come together now for everybody. They find out the actual timeline of Andrea, and they bust in as Andrea hadn't quite made it in time because she was too busy talking and not doing.
Well, you hear the scuffle, you know, behind the door, and then I thought that, you know, I thought it was just going to be the predictable thing where she stabbed him and it was all good, you know. But that was a big switch. I wasn't expecting that to happen.
Yeah. Wow. That was a really big moment. I think by the time that we saw him turn,
yeah,
just the fact that nobody at the prison had died yet,
yeah,
it was just started to look bad for me for Andrea because. Yeah, it was just a big shock. I mean, anyone who knows a lot about Walking Dead stuff, this was a big shocker.
I kind of figured when everything was happening, the shuffling behind the doors, that Andrea was a goner.
Yeah.
Because you would have seen it. I feel like they would have just shown us because we see her kill people so much. But the other thing was, since we had the subtitles on, there's the subtitles of Andrea screaming. So it's like Andrea screams or something like that.
Is it "Let go of me" or something? She screamed.
Yeah, she said "Let go of me."
Oh yeah, she screams "Let go
but I
of
still
me."
figure that he had her, and then she would stab him in the head, and then it's, you know,
Yeah,
she
they were
miraculously survived it still, you know.
Yeah, just to try to leave you in some suspense, but I wasn't in that much suspense because I just figured she would kill him.
Yeah.
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 But she did kill him, but he got to her first.
Yeah.
So we have now our second big death, which is Milton. So Milton would be, I mean, we have a lot of people we don't know dead, but our first big death would be Alan, our second would be Milton. So Andrea is now bitten and she is dying, and she wants to go out and kill herself. She wants to be the one to do it. And we see Michonne really emotional about this.
Yeah.
I think this is the most emotion we've seen out of Michonne.
For sure.
And
I felt really sad for Michonne. It was like when Daryl cried, I was getting a little choked up watching her because you don't see that emotion and how attached she has always been to Andrea. So, you know, we got a little bit taste of what they went through together in the flashback, but just that whole unknown, you know, that made me really sad to, you know, watch her cry in front of her friend.
Yeah,
and
she
she was
lost her
going to
best
stay
friend.
there, with her no matter what. And has to be traumatic too, but I think that was because they were even saying that nobody can be alone, and that's why she stayed. And I thought that was a powerful
I was
moment.
thinking about when Glenn said that a couple of weeks ago on our podcast. Glenn Mazzara was saying that, you know, you have to be with people. I think it was the episode when she was escaping to warn people at the prison. He said, if you're by yourself, you are in trouble. That you need to be with groups. And here's somebody, Andrea, who really was by herself the whole season, and I guess that's the moral.
And there was a good moment with Rick talking to her, outside of her joking about knowing about safeties, which was also good, but a little bit of comic relief in that intense moment. But Andrea asks about the group and asks about the rest of them, if the rest of them are safe, and Rick tells her, or clarifies, the rest of us. So as when we had Glenn on, he was talking about how the big thing for Rick was that, or not Rick, for Andrea, was that she didn't have any place of belonging, and that's what she was trying to find. So her final moments here is getting that place of belonging, where Rick brings her in and clarifies that you are one of us and gives her a place of belonging so she's not alone.
Will you guys hate me if I go on a little bit of a rant here about Andrea?
As long as you don't go on for 20 minutes.
No, I'll keep it to a minute. The reason, like, this whole season, the season finale was kind of a little bit off-putting to me is because last episode we have Merle dying and we have so much emotion behind that, and you really feel like, when I was watching last episode, I was like, man, Merle, like, I know we hate him, but like, this really hurts.
Yeah.
And when you had that, you had it because he was coming around. He was turning it. He had that redeeming moment where you liked him, and then he dies, and it really hits you. With this, it didn't really affect me. When Andrea died, she had no redeeming real moment. We were just kind of sick of her. I mean, this whole season she's been acting like an idiot, like trying to trust in the governor and all this. And then even this episode, it's just frustrating when somebody's supposed to be so strong does that whole thing with the chair. And you're just kind of annoyed by her by the end. And I really didn't feel anything when she was killed. I was like, I really kind of felt like last episode was the finale, and this episode just kind of fizzled out. if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I would disagree with you. I mean, I definitely, Andrea had gotten to me to the point where she was making dumb decisions, but I also felt a little bit closeness to her because she had been through such a struggle, and I was starting to feel like she finally was coming around to be a character of like, okay, I get why you do the things that you do. And even though some of them aren't the best decisions, but I started to feel more of a connection to her than I ever have before in the past seasons.
I kind of agree with you that maybe Merle had a more redeeming death than she did. I do agree with you on there, but I think people thought Andrea was much more annoying. The character was much more annoying in season 2, and she showed a lot of growth.
Yeah.
And also just the fact that she was willing to do the job herself. I think we wanted to see her as a leader, and she was showing herself as a leader. I think she explained herself really well in the scene before with Milton when she said she just she wanted to save everyone. That she was trying to be that, and not every single ending from our main characters is going to have a happy resolution. I think hers was a very sad one, but a touching one, because I think a lot of people in her position would try and negotiate and try and save everybody.
Yeah.
But it just turns into another Dale at some point. I mean, she gets hardened, and then she turns into another Dale with, I wanted to save everyone, I didn't want anyone to die. And it just kind of, it didn't hit home with the finale because of the last we see the governor, and she doesn't have that moment that's like, yeah, Andrea, oh, man, Andrea.
Here's the difference between her and Dale, though, I'll say. Dale was right. I think Dale became the moral compass, and I think he had an effect on the group when he tried to do what he did. I don't think Andrea necessarily did, because she just tried to do what was right, and unfortunately it was the wrong decision for her. I don't think she was a moral compass in the same way. She just tried to make a decision, and she was a leader for the group, and she tried to save everybody, and she couldn't save herself at the end.
Well, as the Walking Dead Army says, Andrea just wanted peace. She had a lot of Dale in her, and she did gain that, and she had a humanity, which was what was nice about her. But Rachel Steiner agrees with your rant, Steven, that she cried for Andrea, but not the way that she cried for Merle. But I think that what you were saying, Nando, Andrea just had a full season of an arc, whereas Merle had that one episode arc.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of the difference, was that you had a whole season. I'm sure the writers felt like they had an entire season where they fleshed out and gave her an arc. Where really, I hated Andrea's character before this season, and she really, I feel like, redeemed herself this season a lot. But I
agree with that, and just I think we were just the only problem we had with her right now. If they would have done something where, you know, maybe Milton didn't tell her about the pliers right away, and then it was her trying to do that without pauses in between, I think then all of us would have cared more at that exact, like, I'm sad that she's dead, because like you said, it took a whole season to make her into a character that I really liked, and they didn't. They would have just they were trying to do it so it was a cliffhanger throughout the whole show, and I think that was a poor choice.
I agree with that. I do think they should have not done what you said at the beginning of the show, Steven, where they just constantly made you feel like she was an idiot at the end.
Blame the editing on that as more than the actress on that.
No, I don't think it. And then Laurie Holden, when I we went to Paley Fest or whatever, when we were talking, you guys were saying, you know, there's a lot of Dale in her. The actress Laurie brings that in there, because she even talked about how much she thinks of that as a character, as Andrea, is that how much Dale had an effect on her. She started crying on the stage a little bit. Now it makes a little bit more sense knowing that they had filmed her death as well. But she really got emotional about that.
All right.
But what you said too. Sorry, I don't mean to.
We need to go. We need to move on.
But what you said too. They had a whole season for her character. I should care more when she dies. She's been in the show since the beginning, and. Okay, I'm stopping.
I'm dropped. I'm over it. We're moving on. Let's get to the final moment of the show, which is Rick's crew bringing back the giant busload of survivors. So Carl, as we mentioned before, not at all happy, and he wants to know, what's this? And Rick says that they're going to join us, and he just runs off, not at all happy, and we end with Rick no longer seeing Laurie. So it's like Rick has finally made the moral choice again. He's come back to us. That was kind of his arc throughout the season, was losing Laurie and going insane, and now he's finally become that guiding leader again, making good choices. Good, or at least better choices.
You know, it's kind of like this might be not the right comparison, but it's almost like It's a Wonderful Life. Like, Clarence is gone because George Bailey is fine now. It's almost like he has a purpose. Rick has a purpose now. He's going to protect these people. He's clear now. He's like that other episode. He's totally clear. He knows what he has to do, and now he doesn't have those visions right now anymore. So that's the way I looked at it.
Yeah.
It was like almost peace. You know, he's like at peace.
Yeah.
Well, he's a little bit back to season 1 where it was just about helping people. You know, and that's what he has to get through. And unfortunately, Carl's going through the I don't want to help people phase right now. So.
Oh, those teenagers.
Oh, those teenagers.
But I was not at all expecting a lot of this finale and a lot of what happened, especially when you compare it to the comics. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about the comics a little bit, make some comic comparisons. So if you don't want to listen, tune out. We'll talk about it for a few minutes because this is very drastically different. So in the comics, the finale is very different. You just have, I mean, the governor the entire time had been the psychopath, but you have the governor coming in, and there is an actual war where there's a battle where the prisoners are in the prison shooting at them, and it's kind of more of a shootout, and lots of characters dying left and right. You pretty much have the entire prison group dead by the end of this finale in the comics, whereas here in the show, almost all the prisoners are alive. Really, all the prisoners who got to the prison at this point in time who are still there are still alive.
Well, and the craziest death, I can spoil a little bit, right?
Yeah.
With that is with Lori, with Judith, and that's what gets everybody on Woodbury to turn against the governor is when, you know, they get shot, that he shoots Lori, but there's a baby in her arms, and that's who gets shot that way.
No, I
and
think
that
she
would
was
have
still
been
wasn't she still pregnant?
No, I thought they
No.
had
No,
her.
they had
Judith.
Judith.
They moved her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had
She was carrying Judith, and they get shot
And
at the
she
same
gets shot
time.
at the same
Yeah, and
time,
it was
yeah.
just too close when they were running, and it went through her body and also hit the baby,
Oh.
and that's where the young girl in Woodbury turns on the governor.
Yeah.
But that was the season finale, and we get the Lori death at the beginning of the season here, so totally different. And another big drastic difference is the governor is shot by his own people in this finale of the comics, and here instead he kills his own people and runs away. So the governor's still out there and alive as far as we know in the TV show. So very drastically different between the comics. I just think it's worth pointing out because they do draw from the comics, even though it is, especially this season, it is so different.
Well, and Tyreese doesn't make it out of
Yeah, I was
the
gonna say.
prison.
And
They-
Herschel's one
Right.
of the big ones that dies too from the battle at
well,
the
just
prison.
a lot of people. I mean, most of the prisoners, I think, end up dying.
I
at
think
that scene.
Glenn and Maggie stay alive.
Right.
Beth I think is gone way before then. Yeah, I think it's really just Rick, Carl, and Andrea, and
well,
and-
Dale still makes it.
and Dale's still alive for a bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So as Rachel Steiner points out in the chat, there could still be the characters who are with the governor right now, like Martinez, who could potentially be the switch who end up killing him.
Well, also Martinez, that was a great thing from the since we're still in the comics. What
Yeah.
happened with Martinez, that he switched to the prison side for a little while, but he became a double agent. So
Yeah. So totally different ending to this season compared to the comics. But guys, that wraps it up for the show. So I do want to talk about the comments from you guys last week. Thank you all. We always appreciate you guys chiming in. So on YouTube, we had Nath King, Lady Nikki, Robert Allen, Craig Williams, Ellie Norris, Misty Dancer, Carrie Fox D, Rascal Jammies, My Daddy Ate My Eyes. That's an awesome one. The Toro's
Like
World,
that.
Bahaha Val, Drelliford 69, Richard D, Screw V Die, Chris Mom, Jackhammer 23. There's a lot. Jaguar Rider, Shunsuke Pere, and Drelliford 69 asks, do we think this is the best season? I'll go ahead and give my opinion. I still hold that season 1 is my favorite season. I loved season 1. I just love the Walker against Human idea and the horror element of it. But that was my favorite.
I'm gonna say this was my favorite. I mean, this was my favorite part of the book. I love that this had everything that I loved from the book, but it deviated so much that there was still a lot of shocking surprises. So I would go for this one. Although the first one was good. Actually, I also like the second one. Sorry, just because of Shane. Well, because of Shane.
So you
how
like all of
crazy
them.
he became. So I liked
Okay,
them all.
cop out. So season 3 is your favorite.
Season 3 my favorite.
Season 3 is my favorite just because of Michonne, period, because I just wanted to really see how they developed her in the show, and the governor too, because he's so evil in the comic books. I really was interested to see how the television show would be in correlation with that. So I correlation with that. So I personally think this is my favorite season.
I agree. This is my favorite as well. It's also different, you know, watching with all of you guys and talking about it afterwards. It brings like a whole different element than sitting down and just watching them, you know, on my own half the time, or you know, the fact that we get so into it. And like you said, I love that. I love Denai as Michonne, and I love David Morrissey as the governor.
And I'm so
he
glad
was perfect
that we might
for-
see him next year.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
So yeah, I know, like crazy. I thought the governor for sure was gone, and he's not. But Screwy Die asks us another philosophical question. Well, philosophical question: if Shane were still alive, how do we think things would be this season between the governor and Rick's group? I think Shane kind of did fall into place with what Rick said, but I think that they would have ended up attacking the, at least Shane would have gone off and tried to do more damage on Woodbury himself.
I think if they came to a point where they were rescuing Planet Maggie from the beginning, I think he would have either got himself killed because he would have gone a little too on the deep end and just tried to do too much, because they were pretty, as you could tell from today's episode, the Woodbury was pretty well fortified. They had a lot of extra guns, so that they didn't have a chance to use.
Yeah, I would just say which Shane would we have, which Shane are we talking about?
Well, I think it's just, that's he did not die at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
I think it's that.
Yeah.
I mean, there would have been the whole Lori thing. That's the big thing too.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Maybe Lori'd still be alive.
Yeah.
Maybe, or maybe he would have been set off even crazier if Lori died when Lori died. Yeah.
I agree.
Or maybe him and Rick would have become best friends again, because there's not the spike in between them.
They got rid of the girl in the middle.
So
they can be bros again.
Yeah, exactly. It's always the girls that mess everything up. So Shunsuke Pere is a Japanese fan. I just wanted to say, I just thought this was fun. He said his favorite characters in the show are the Governor, Maggie, and Kristin Carole.
Yes, I'm on The Walking Dead now. Cool.
So I just thought that was fun. So on iTunes, we had Mama Jamma again. Thank you for commenting again. And Solomon J. Martinez, Jeff from Fort Wayne. Where are you from? And Rick Tater 2013, who I believe has been chiming in on our chat a lot. Mama Jamma actually predicted that the Governor wouldn't die this season. And
well done.
Well done. That was on March 24th that he put that. You can check on iTunes. Congratulations. I'm congratulating you because that's a big prediction and you were right.
I wasn't here, but you saw my email. I said the same thing. So I'm just putting that.
Nando, I don't care. I don't even care.
I liked my faux prediction, which is Judith kills the Governor, like Maggie Simpson. If anybody's a fan of Simpsons.
I like that prediction.
I like that one. I like that one.
But speaking of predictions, let's go to predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So now that things are so different, what do you think is going to happen in season 4? At least the beginning of it, because now the Governor's still alive, the group's still in the prison. I mean, even if you read the comics, it's very different. I still think within the first half of the season they're going to leave the prison and find a different place. But as we were talking about, and people in the chat were also mentioning, is the bus full of people just fodder. It's from our friend Megan, who's actually here listening in. Is the bus full of people they brought just basically walker fodder?
Yeah. I think a lot of red shirts. A lot of Star Trek red shirts probably going to be in there.
And you got 3 people who are still on the loose. There's no way that Governor is not coming back in some sort of form. We're going to see him.
But Tyreese and Sasha are with that busload, so that's great to see both of them in there. So.
Yeah, I saw a couple older people getting off that bus, so I don't know. I think Dave might be right with that.
Yeah.
No, that's our friend Megan.
Oh, Megan. Oh, Megan. That's right. Megan. Sorry.
Go Megan.
Let's go, Megan.
She's over there. You can't see her.
But yeah, I guess my prediction is just that the beginning of the season there's going to be a little bit of a scuffle with the Governor, but they're going to move on and they're not going to be out of the prison.
I'm gonna
go.
I was gonna say my prediction on email that I said was that the Governor will be dead by the fall finale. So that's what I think. I think they're saving the Governor, saving David Morrison a little bit longer for the fall
finale.
For a half season. Yeah, and then I think by then they'll probably be out of the prison. So I can agree with that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
What a smart choice to keep him around. I mean, even though he's such a bad guy, he's so great to watch on the screen.
I'm going to go left and say that Tyreese and Sasha are going to take out the Governor and that we're going to lose Herschel, Beth, and Glenn sometime the first part of the 4th season.
Yeah.
So if we get any of them on the show, we'll know that's true.
We'll know that's true.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, amazingly, Carol survived.
Carol and Beth were taking out zombies.
Yeah.
I was excited to see that.
Those are the best zombie kills.
That's just because she phoned in. That's clearly what it was.
Yeah.
That's why
you can't physically be here, but you can call into the show.
That's why Melissa McBride survived, because she called in.
Yeah.
So good call on your part. And guys, season 4 will be coming back in October. So that is when Walking Dead is back with Scott Gimple as the new showrunner.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
I have one quick prediction, kind of out there. Seeing Carl's little transformation, I'm gonna say he gets separated from the group and falls under the Governor's wing for a bit without the Governor knowing who he is.
Yeah, and we're getting people chiming in saying don't have Daryl on our show. I'm right here. What are you talking about? All right, guys. But again, I'm Dave Klein. You can find me on Twitter at @DaveKlein. That's KLEIN, or on my website, djk-online.com. And go to AfterBuzz in 2 hours from now, or 1 hour from now, for the Game of Thrones after show, which I'm also doing. And in 2 weeks on Saturday, there will be a new video game after show, Saturday noon, which I'm hosting. Check it out.
And you can find me at Nandovel, Nandovel, and also I do The Following, AfterBuzz, and Bates Motel, and a couple other things. So.
I'm Derrial Christon. You can find me under my same name and Twitter, DerrialChriston.
And I'm Kristin Carole, and you can find me on Twitter at Kristin Carole 13, and I also do Smash.
All right, guys. See you season 4.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you guys season 4.
Later.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.